Hey there, hi there, ho there. I'm as happy as I can be. It's podcast day. I am so excited, you guys. So, this is Courageously You with Martha Davis Alexander. I am your host, Martha Davis Alexander. I am a recovering attorney. I am a certified fearless living coach. You can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or courageouslyoucoaching.com. I am so excited today, you guys. I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to be an estate planning attorney, and learning how to support your aging loved ones is something we all need to do. And it's a conversation some of us don't have. I just spent the month of March dealing with a situation, and I hadn't gotten quite all the details. So I am so excited to have this guest today, Elizabeth Magallon Fleury of Life's Encore Planning. And let me tell you something about Elizabeth. I have to read it just so you know, I don't memorize things. Elizabeth is a serial entrepreneur, and Life's Encore Planning is her fourth business. She is married to her very supportive husband, Steve, and they have one son, Aiden, who is 20 years old. They just relocated to Reno, Nevada. She's an animal lover. Her first business is Positively
Perfect.
Perfect, a pet sitting service in San Jose, California, which is amazing. That's so you. I love that. She launched Life's Encore Planning in January of 2019 after supporting family and friends who are struggling to care for aging loved ones. Welcome, Elizabeth. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Martha, for having me. I'm excited to be here as well. I love it. A recovering attorney. I love it.
I am a recovering attorney. It's totally true. So tell me how you started this. Tell me about how Life's Encore Planning began. I love the name, by the way. Life's Encore Planning is brilliant.
Thank you. Well, it all started with a near-death experience for my mom in 2015. And they came back to California at the time to get some medical help. And it ended up being 13 months that my parents lived with us.
Yikes.
Yes. And then, unfortunately, my mom and dad lived in a condo, and they couldn't move back to the condo because now my mom was in a wheelchair. And when you're living in a community like condos or townhouses, it's very hard to make modifications if you have some type of mobility issues. So I went through the process of finding them a new place to live and got them back home to Washington and settled in. And everything went good for a while. And then 2018, again, my mom had another health crisis and was in the hospital. We thought we were going to lose her. And then it was at that point that we knew she was going to need care like all the time, and it needed to be more than my father. And at $5,000-7,000 a month, it's like you're going to run out of money. So then I spent the next 13 months working through the Medicaid system to get my mom onto Medicaid. So there's lots of pieces and wheels and people to talk to, and the details are crazy. And I've been in business a long time. I'm very tenacious. Don't tell me I can't do something. I'm gonna make it happen. And going through all of this with my mom and my dad, I realized people really need help with this. And what I'd like to be able to do is to have people prepare ahead of time with, their estate planning, and do they want to age in place? And if so, that's more than just grab bars in the shower, or do they want to go to a retirement community? So
right.
That's what I'd like to do, is help people to plan ahead. Right now, usually people come to me, Mom had a fall. She can't go back home. And then so I assist them through the process, whether it's to move mom or to help mom at home. Yeah. So
Right. So you do both ends of it. You do
I
the
do.
let's pre-plan it and let's talk about what it looks like now and what it might look like at the time,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And if something's happened, give you a call. So now something interesting you said that I just wanted to touch base on that might relate to the audience, and that is your mom was with you for 13 months and your son was 15. If he's 20 now, 6 years ago, he was 14 and 15. I mean, those are rough ages to not only be a mom and deal with everything that's going on in high school and whatever, but to also be multitasking and helping to be caregiver and find things for your mom. That's a lot to take on. I did that as well at about that stage. So I know how hard that is.
Yes, it is. And it's called the sandwich generation.
Yes, it is.
And that, we still have kids at home that we're, raising and driving to carpool and sporting events. And then we have our loved one, whether it's a parent or it's a relative or it's a friend that we're trying to support as well.
Middle of all of that, managing it all, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I love about what you do is that it helps to have someone who's been through it and knows what to do, right? So, but here's the question. Here's really the burning question. And I dealt with this as an attorney when I was doing estate planning too. And that's, how do you start the conversation with your aging parents that they need to get their stuff in order, that they need to figure this out? How do you do that?
Well, and that's the big one, right? Is starting the conversation. Usually it's the children or some family member that is concerned about someone else who will come to me and say, we need to have this conversation. I don't want to have it, but we need to have it. So what I do is I get everybody we can involved who supports that person and talk through what each of you, like, for example, if there's a couple of kids, what are each of them concerned about with mom and dad? And also, what do you know and what don't you know about what's going on with them? And I'll tell you that people will hide it. They will hide it so well. No, I'm fine. Everything's fine. So you kind of team up there, kind of find out, put your priorities down that you want to cover. And then what I tell people as well is, you don't want to overwhelm your loved one. So it doesn't have to be one big conversation where everybody gets together like some big family intervention. It doesn't have to be that way. And
That's how I do it.
well, and you don't want to, because it puts them on the
Right.
defensive, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I try to tell them, if they can, try to have some mini conversations, right? Each conversation can cover a specific topic. And we just need to talk as people. But actually, really, what we need to do most is listen. Pose a question and then be quiet. See what they say, and then, just little nudges, but let them really be the ones to come across with the information. And they may have questions for you as well. And
So what's a kind of conversation? What's a question that our viewers could use? Someone listening to this could use to start the conversation.
well, probably the biggest one and or the toughest one is finances, right? And it's always like, hey, mom and dad, I like, for example, if something happened to you guys and you couldn't pay your bills, you wouldn't want your bills to be late. I would want to support you. How could I support you in that? And these are the ways, right? Power of attorney, or, hey,
Yeah.
I need to know, where your checkbook is and that. So that's the financial conversation of being able to have the ability to take over for them if needed, right? And that's the if needed part. Not that I want to take over your bills. It's if it's needed, I want to support you.
So one of the things that my dad did that I absolutely so appreciated and loved was I would go back to Iowa for about a week, the 6 months before he died, and we would spend that week going over the financials and doing it together so that I knew how to manage his complex estate, their complex estate, that I knew what I was doing, still not perfectly, but where stuff was and what it came, where stuff came from and how to do it. So if people have a complex situation, cluing somebody in on it and not just having it fall on their lap is really important.
Yes, because, the last thing you want is, mom and dad somebody had life insurance and they're in the hospital and now you have to pay bills and then the life insurance payment doesn't get made, right? Because
Yikes.
nobody knew.
Yikes.
Nobody knew. That's
Yeah.
just that's horrible. And so, like, right now I'm currently working with a client and we're putting together binders with all the information, one for mom and dad and one for each of the children, and it's all going to be in there organized by each topic with all the information that they need at the ready, that if something happens, then they can step in and either support their mom or dad who isn't sick, or to just take it over if it's just too overwhelming.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's that I'm going through that right now,
Yes.
with a family member, and I got surprised looking at his copy of the binder because I had my own copy, and there was an amendment that neither myself nor the other co-trustee knew anything about, and some other stuff, right? And what wasn't in the binder was the burial arrangements that he had already prepaid for that I had no idea about. And I wasn't looking for that stuff while I was sitting by the bed when he couldn't communicate with me. So I paid somebody else to do something that he had already paid for. And so making sure, right, that those binders, so do you do an annual like checkup with your clients to make
Yes.
sure that if there are changes or something's done, that's in everybody's binder?
Yes,
Because that would have been so helpful.
that's key, because some type of life change. Did you sell a car? Did you buy a new car? Have you paid off the mortgage since we talked? Any kind of
Right.
thing like that. Did you get more insurance? Did you sell some of your assets and they're closed out now, so we don't need to worry about, sending a death certificate or whatever later? They've already been closed out. Yes.
Yeah.
So an annual update is key.
Yeah. And you do that. You sit down with
Yes,
them or you send them a letter at least reminding them.
exactly.
Really, you can't do it without them.
Right.
So people take care of your business. That really is the key to all of it, right?
Right.
Communication. And if you can't do it, Elizabeth is amazing. And it is so important to have someone to talk to who's already been through it.
Yes. And a lot of times I'm like the mediator, and I can come together with the family and steer the conversation in the right direction and help and support those who may not know the right questions to ask, or are confused. And, so bringing in the clarity with my experience to make sure everybody understands. And if there's somebody quiet in the corner, I'm going to make sure that they, to bring them into the conversation to make sure everybody understands. And then after we have that, then I'm always giving updates to my clients. We met on this day. This is what we spoke about. This is where we want to move forward. And these are your priorities.
That's fabulous. I love the priorities and having the list for your clients to do and following up with them, because it's hard. It's not an easy task to do. And I'm not great on my own stuff either, even knowing it, right?
Right.
It's not something that I spend the time to do. So I can see how it'd be so helpful to have someone like nudging.
Yes,
because a gentle, loving nudge.
Yes, a gentle, loving nudge. Because bottom line is, if you were going to do it, you would have already done it, right? And or you didn't know. So many people say, "I don't know what I don't know," and I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go over this, and I'll give you all the key pieces of what you need to do to have a good Encore life plan for retirement and beyond, and ask you the questions so you can, like I said, besides the conversation, there's also the downsizing, right? And some people, the downsizing, like if they're going to age in place, they're like, well, why do I need to downsize? I'm like, well, okay, but maybe you're not using all of this stuff, right? You're just, you're not as active, or, we all change and get rid of things throughout our whole lives. It's no different when we get older. And so I like to say, let's go through your things, so you can decide as well. You look at something, you go, I want this person to have it. I want to make sure. And I say, okay, well, if you're not using it, how about we give it to them now? Like jewelry is a perfect example. As we get older, sometimes we don't wear all the jewelry that we have, and it's sitting in a jewelry box, and I'm going to give it to this person. So I say, let's give it to them now. And then you can see them wear it, and you can see the joy on their face, right? When they're wearing it. And or when you see that person, it'll remind you of when you got it and events that you wore it, and you can have a conversation about it. So that's why I like to try to move forward. And it makes it easier for the families after you're gone. There's no questions about who's going to get what. There's less to deal with it. Maybe we've even marked it all, and put little stickies on it. I want so-and-so to have this, and I want so-and-so to have that, and let them know ahead of time, right? That, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. So
yeah, my mom did that with some of her jewelry. She gave it up early for me. And I have already started shedding to my daughter, right? And my nieces. I've already started to say, I don't wear as much. I don't need it all. I would love you guys to enjoy it now, as opposed to when I'm, dead in hopefully 40 years.
Right.
Is my goal. Then I'd be 100 people. So
hey,
I think that's a good life.
I think that's a good life as well. As long as we're staying healthy and mobile and happy, let's go for it.
So what about, and this is a hard conversation, right? There's a lot of guilt about taking your parents' stuff, even if you don't want it. Let me try that again. I had a lot of guilt. So I have the same dining room set that I have had for 40 plus years since my grandmother died. And while I love the dining room set, right, it's not necessarily what I would choose now, right? How do you tell your parents, or how do you maneuver that situation? How do you help your clients get rid of that guilt and help the parents to get rid of shit?
It's difficult. So I try to go through everybody in the family, right? So maybe there's, you have your kids. Okay, well, the kids, they have their house, or you could tell by how their house is decorated, that this piece wouldn't fit in their decor. Well, let's check out everybody else in the family. If it's like an heirloom piece, right? If it's an heirloom piece, I would go through everyone in the family as well, start with the kids and then move out from there. And then you just have to just be honest. And this has been very difficult. I've had this conversation with my parents. My brother wants nothing except the crystal candelabras. The rest of it he could care less about. But my mom, she has this furniture and she loves it. And really what I've said about the furniture piece is, it's not just you, mom and dad. This is something difficult for everyone. And the generations like different things. And we need to respect that they like different things, right? You may not have wanted your great grandmother something. Well, here, this is the same situation. Now you're the great grandmother or the grandmother, and the kids just don't want it. And we'll do our best to find someone who wants it, whether it be in the family or for it to be sold or donated. There's lots of opportunities, but I will say that in the last 10, 20 years, it has gotten exponentially more difficult, especially when it comes to furniture.
Isn't that funny?
Yep.
So hold that thought for a second, because we have a commercial break for goingsolomedia.com. You will see me, and if Elizabeth is up for it, Elizabeth dancing in the background to the music and checking out the stuff, because there's some cool stuff on these ads, people. So pay attention to the ads. We will be right back with more on how to support your aging loved ones with one guest. With aging loved ones, sorry. With my guest, Elizabeth Magallon Fleury of Life's Encore Plan. This is Martha Davis Alexander of Courageously You with Martha. And we will be right back. Awesome. So I got to tell you, even though I'm giving jewelry to people already, doesn't mean I don't want additional pieces. Sadly enough, and that Quest jewelry commercial always gets me, man.
I
That
know. I was like,
sapphire is like, ooh, I want that. Look at how pretty it would go right here.
I know, right?
Let my husband know. Anyway, so back to you. Hey everybody, it's Courageously You with Martha again. I'm your host, Martha Davis Alexander. You can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or courageouslyoucoaching.com. And we have a guest today, a very special guest, talking about taking care of your loved ones, how to support your aged loved ones. And it is Elizabeth Magallon Fleury. And you can reach Miss Elizabeth at
Elizabeth@lifesencore.com, or you can go to my website at lifesencore.com.
Beautiful. Love that. Lifesencore.com. I love that name. You guys can always remember it. Lifesencore.com. Life's Encore, right? What are you going to do for your encore? Love that. So I'm dying in this house and there isn't anything you can do about it. How do you navigate that one?
That's a tough one. So really, we want to respect that. So that's the first thing. I'm like, okay, I get it. So here again, we want to have a conversation. What is it and why do you want to stay in your own home? And let's make a list of all the reasons why you want to stay. Great. Okay. Now, then it's how are you managing currently in your home? Are we doing good? We checking off the boxes? Great. Okay. Well, let's think about the future of living in your home, right? We all need to be safe. We want to age in place. We want to be safe. So, like I said earlier, that's not just grab bars in the shower. That's easy accessibility into a shower. We don't want to be climbing into a tub necessarily. Do we have a 2-story? If we do, what are we going to do if we're not able to manage the stairs? Do we have a bedroom and a full bath downstairs? Where's the laundry room? Is it on the first floor, or are you maybe having to go down into a basement to get to your laundry? Or are you having to go out into a garage and maybe go down a couple of steps? So if we know and we look at these items ahead of time, then we can decide, okay, to move the laundry room into the house, oh, that's not going to be too much. Oh, but we have a 2-story and we have no full bathroom downstairs. Well, okay, that's something bigger that we really need to think about. And if we're set about, aging in place, then we need to start planning now, because that's something that could take 6 months or a year. And we'd want to look at the cost of that as well. So usually what I do, regardless of whether they want to age in place or they say, well, I guess I just have to go to a retirement community, but maybe they're not excited about it, I always show them both sides. So we analyze their situation at home, and then I go out and I tour residences. So like, depending on where you're located, because I have clients in multiple states, I maybe have either already toured places and I could say, well, your personality is good for these places. Let's go tour them together. Or if I haven't done that, then what I do is I'll go out and do the legwork and go look at 10 or 15 places in their area and then say, okay, these fit your wants and needs, because everybody has unique wants and needs for how they want to age.
Oh my goodness. You do that? You pre-look at places? I got to
Yes.
tell you, the number of hours actually slash that days it took me to look for my mom. And then it took me a day for my dad on a skilled nursing. But I had a very short period of time and there weren't as many around. I was in rural Iowa. So it was
Mm.
I had like 3 choices. It was an obvious choice. But in the Bay Area, there were a ton of places that I had to look at. And I finally, my daughter went with me for some of them, and she would walk into a place and say, I wouldn't leave my dog here. We're leaving right now. My grandmother was not staying here. Right. I mean, but it's hard. That is one of the most exhausting, depressing, tiring things that I have ever done.
Yeah.
And it would have been so much easier to have someone else on the top of it say, I've looked at all these places. Here are the ones that I think might be a good fit for you.
Yes.
And this is why. Oh my God, that would have saved me days and heartache and all kinds of stuff. That's an amazing service, Elizabeth.
Yes, because, you're already, depending on where you're at, either you're thinking about it proactively, then it's not such a big deal. But most times something has happened and now people are like, oh my gosh, we have to do something. Well, they're already caring for that loved one wherever they're at and dealing with all of that. The last thing they need to do is go hunting around for, through 10 different places, trying to decide what's going to be best for their loved one. So this, makes it just so much easier. And like I said, depending on where you're at, I've either already looked at them or I have a good idea, or I will go out and do it. And I will look at it and then I'll just come back to you and say, these are the best, options for your family member.
So have you found when you're looking at places that if someone needs a certain amount of additional care, that assisted living places require you to hire someone as on the side as well?
It depends. Usually not. So usually with assisted living, they have some sort of in-home care. Then you're at levels, and it just depends on what level of care you need. If you're in independent living and then need help, then you can either move to an assisted living, or a lot of the independent living places will let you hire someone to come in because they like to, this has been your home. They don't want you to have to leave. So they want to give you the opportunity to hire someone to come in so you can stay and age in place there.
Nice. So let's say somebody falls and they're in the hospital. Have you also looked at the skilled nursing places around so that you have a good idea of which ones are good in an area?
I have not gotten to skilled nursing yet. I've looked at independent and assisted and memory care.
Okay.
So those are the three that
something that you think you might add on?
Yes, yes.
to
And as it goes, a lot of times, sometimes they're like next to each other. So
Yeah.
I'm always asking, okay, where is rehab? Where is nursing home care? And they're usually very close, and it's very easy to get good information from whoever, whether it's an independent or an assisted, who they work with. That's always a question that I ask, where if something happens and they go to the hospital but they can't come back yet to their residence, where would they go? And they usually know who that is and who they work with.
So that's fabulous. So if someone hasn't done their estate plan, do you refer them to somebody? What do you do? How do you handle that?
So if they haven't done their estate plan, that's always the top priority. That's always the my go-to. All right. Do you have an estate plan? Yes, I do. Okay. When was the last time it was updated? Okay. It needs to be updated. Is your lawyer still around, your attorney? Let's go back. That's what I just did with a client. They went back to their attorney and she redrew up the documents and brought them up to date.
Beautiful.
If you don't have an estate plan, then it's up to you whether you want to go out and find a lawyer. Usually they won't. So that's where I come in, and I will go through, and either I have elder law lawyers that I've already vetted depending on your area, or I will go out, vet them, find out who I think will be best to work with you, because there
Right.
again, it's personalities, right?
It is. A
It's
lot of
so,
it is personalities.
yes, and that is key. Whether you're dealing with your estate plan or going to a financial advisor, I want to get the personalities right, because it just makes it so much easier, right? And you're not dreading it.
Yeah. So a lot of times people have to pull up a lot of documents, right? And get them in order and figure out what they have and what it's in and all of that stuff. And it's really a pain, and people don't do it because that's so difficult. Is that something that you help with as well?
Yes. So, like, I have lists and guides of the things that you're going to need that will, tell you, okay, these are the types of trusts that you can get. These are the documents that you'll need to have. I have a full document list, whether it's personal, financial, insurance, and then I can help walk them through getting it all together, getting it copied. So they keep the originals, whatever they need to give to an attorney or to a financial planner, because that's a big deal too. If you're getting financial advice, they need to see the whole picture. So usually when I'm talking with people and they haven't talked to a financial advisor, it's not, oh, how do you want to, invest money? That's not what it's about. It's about understanding how long your money is going to last you in retirement, what you can afford to, if you want to age in place, or if you want to move to a retirement community. Do you have the funds available to do that? And also, as we know, Medicare does not pay for everything. There's going to be out-of-pocket expenses for that, and that needs to be part of your retirement planning as well.
Amen. Absolutely does. This has been fascinating, Elizabeth. I love this discussion. It reminds me that I have a little bit of work to do for me. Um, and it's so fresh in my mind from my family member in March having died. I thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom and gems with me and with our audience. It has been amazing. So Elizabeth, do you have any last words of advice for for our audience?
Well, because I'm here today on the Going Solo network, solo aging, if you are solo, it is imperative that you have a plan in place, right? You don't want to, God forbid, leave it up to the state or the last minute. You want to make sure, as a solo ager, that you have all your ducks in a row. And I am very happy to work with people who are solo aging, as well as people with family members, because when you're solo aging, you need the support more than anybody else. So I'm here to support all you solo people as well.
So let me give you a horror story for the solo people out there as to why this is a little bit more urgent than maybe you think it is. I had a client who was nowhere near dying. There was no indication that she was going to die. And early in the morning, she'd taken her dogs to the groomers and she was going to pick them up. Well, about 5 minutes before she left to pick them up, she died. She at home, she died. And there was nobody who had, it was the people who came in after for me to help them. She was not my client. It was her friends who were my clients who they were like, we can't get the dogs out. I don't have the money to pay for the dogs, right? The dogs grooming. And every day they're in there, it's costing us more and more. And I don't have the authority to get them out. Well, if you don't have anything written, if you don't have anything, those dogs are going to be there for a while, because it takes a while to get a court to appoint someone. It takes a while to get the money freed up so that you can even pay bills. Yeah. It really is so imperative to go down this road. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your dogs, because you never know, right? Do it for those who are left behind, because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with stuff. And it really is an act of love to take care of, to do your life's Encore plan is really an act of love for everybody else. And I love that you do your job with love. And I love that you work with solos, you work with anybody, you work with the kids of aging parents to help them kind of deal with the conversations and deal with the actual planning. It is such a needed service. And I love that you do that, Elizabeth. Your heart is just so beautiful.
Thank you.
So Elizabeth Magallon Fleury, I am saying Magallon correct, right?
Close. Magallon. Magallon.
Oh Jesus, no. It's Italian people, and I don't speak Italian. Anyway, you can reach Elizabeth at elizabethlifesencore.com, and lifesencore.com is her website. So check it out. If nothing else, please, I hope you got a nugget of something that you want to do. I always give an action plan at the end. So here is the action step that I am going to give you from today's podcast. I invite you and challenge you to ask yourself, what from this podcast can I do? What is it that is imperative? What is my next priority for mine or my parents' life's Encore plan? What is the next thing I need to do to handle my parents' business, to handle my business so my kids don't have to handle business? What is the next thing you need to do to handle life's Encore business? And please write that down and then put it in your calendar as to when you're going to take that action step. A goal is just a dream unless you write it down and put action to it. Put it on your calendar, decide by when you're going to do it, and do a little bit every day, right? You don't have to know it all right now, a bite a day. And if you want help with that, please call Elizabeth. This has been Courageously You with Martha. And you can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or at courageouslyoucoaching.com. This is the Going Solo Network, the #1 network on the internet. Hit like and subscribe. You'll catch me every week at this time, Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Y'all have a phenomenal day, and we'll look forward to meeting you next week.
Thank you so much, Martha. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Elizabeth.